Draco. You know hit. I just turned on. I'm feeling hella proper. I be making moves. Just got a couple dollars. Went through some crazy issues. Turned up a couple poppers.
Man, whoa, what's down with it? You hear me? Had to put the fucking ski on. You hear me? Man, look. Y'all see that picture I got right there? You hear me? This nigga right here. His name Gerard Johnson, Gerard, whatever the fuck his name was. You hear me? I was locked up with that nigga when I called my time. You hear me? And this really before I took my time. You hear me? And I was still down there in Conchetta. You hear me? And they call a nigga Pablo. You hear me? I ain't gonna say that was his official street name, you hear me? Cause I had heard some shit. But they'll call a nigga Pablo, whatever like that. He was from off 3 and G, you hear me? So he was one of them niggas that I was saying when he was in the deal with all that jumping and shit like that, you hear me? And you know what I'm saying? He one of them type of niggas I was telling y'all, he the type of nigga, if he ain't with his clique, he ain't shit, you hear me? But as long as he got niggas coming behind him, oh, he a beast, he a giant, you hear me? So, I say that to say because see when the staff people, they went to breaking that shit up and sending them niggas to the parish and shit one by one, man, I'm telling you, man, look, they only had like 2 or 3 niggas that actually went to the parish and stayed. You hear me? When I got shipped to the parish, I ain't go back to Conchetta. From the parish, I went upstate. You hear me? That said something. You hear me? When that nigga there went to the parish, man, that nigga came back. You hear me? He was pleading. He got to get back. He can't live in there. It's too real in there. You hear me? I know I had told y'all about that song. That was a real song they made up. But that bit, how that bit was? I can't live in here. It's too real. It's too real in here. They got knives. They gonna kill in here. Yeah, you hear me? Like, for real. They really had me the song, like, you hear me? And he was one of them niggas singing that song. He can't live. It's too real in there, you hear me? By himself, he couldn't live, you hear me? And I remember one day, like, I don't know why, son. I guess cause I wouldn't feed into his old bullshit, like, you hear me? Like, niggas around there, like, when he was with his little gangster act and shit, like, niggas, you know, like, I guess play along with it, however you want to call it, like, I don't know how you say that shit, like, but they'll, you know, and me, I don't acknowledge that shit, like, nigga, I'm on some, long as you don't disrespect me, you hear me, just stay out my way, we good. You hear me? Type shit. Like, I don't want to fuck with you. You hear me? But he running with my partner, this nigga Weeder. And like I told y'all, when I had rolled in, and the nigga arrived, the old time arrived out the 7 wall, was telling me, man, them niggas jumping and all this, niggas out the 7 wall, they gonna flush you and all that shit. And I'm like, who? And he showed me, I'm like, man, that's my partner. So the nigga that's like running the shit, you hear me? He like the leader of their little group. You hear me? What it was, DOA, you hear me? He was like the leader, you hear me? The nigga fuck with me, you hear me? On some street shit. So I could see it was a day that this nigga, like, he had a problem. Like I said, cause I ain't giving him no special treatment or nothing. Nigga, to me, you was nothing to me, you nobody, you hear me? And he seeing that I just enrolled in on the clique, and I guess in his mind, he trying to wonder how I got so much respect, you hear me, around that bitch. You dig? Like, how I could, you know, be good like that, you hear me? And I guess that kind of fuck with him, you hear me? I don't know why, you dig? I don't know why, but I guess it kind of fuck with him. That he see the nigga that, you know, lead fuck with me. And so he probably in his mind, like, if he could do something to me, it could probably push his status up. I'm talking about every nigga that roll on tail. I'm talking about even like Big Diesel out of 13, fucking with a nigga, you hear me? And I ain't running around on no gangster type shit or nothing. I'm just me, I'm being cool, you hear me? Real nigga shit. Lay back in the cut, you hear me? But he can see everybody on the tip, like, fucking with me. But son, the thing to that is I'm just a real nigga, son. I don't pretend or perpetrate to be nobody else. I'm just me. You hear me? That's what motherfuckers respect me for being me. You hear me? I don't overstep no boundaries or none of that. No more, no less. I'm just me. You hear me? And he was trying to be extra. So this day I'm talking about, I can see the nigga like he got a look of envy in his eye, like, you hear me? And I really can't put a finger on it, but you can see like he had something against me, you hear me? And so the nigga we was like by the card table, you hear me? And the nigga had said some kind of like slick shit out his mouth. You hear me? He said some kind of slick shit out his mouth. But not too long after that, they had like supposed to have some kind of fire or something, so we had to get transferred to TDC. You hear me? And so when we going on the bus, I get cuffed up with the nigga. You hear me? So we paired up, we cuffed up together or whatever. You hear me? And when we on the transport van and we going to TDC, I remember like motherfucking making jokes and shit like that. And it was something to the effect like, boy, that boy was scared or whatever like that, you hear me? And so like scared, like the fuck? This nigga think he playing. So I immediately like, fuck that, I gotta check that shit, like, you hear me? But I ain't go overboard with checking it, but just to let them know, man, don't play with me, cause I don't know you like that, you hear me? And so, you know, that was my brief with little bird, like, man, you don't know me like that, don't play with me, son. I ain't scared of shit, you hear me? Or whatever. So that boy, like, he looked, put a little smile on his face, you hear me? And I can't see my face, so I don't know what my look was, but I know, like, my mind on your next move, my next move, like, boy, you better not fucking play with me, like, son, I'm telling you, like, I ain't the one. I know that's what my facial expression got to be, because that's what my mind, what I'm thinking, like, boy, you don't play with me, you hear me? The next move on you, you hear me? And he made the right move. So that nigga, I'm just fucking with you, son, I'm just fucking with you, like, yeah, alright, you hear me? But like I said, I could see he wanted to do something, but he knew that if he would've, it wasn't gonna be no jumping me, you hear me? He would've had to go one-on-one, you hear me? Cause, like I said, I fuck with the nigga that's leading the clique, you hear me? So, he knew it wasn't gonna be no one-on-one. And he can't handle the one-on-one unless he know the nigga a hoe and he can't figure me out. You hear me? That's something that I love about me too. That I don't give a nigga no, you know, you can't figure me out, son. I'm always chill, I'm always quiet. You hear me? I'm never, yeah, I do this, I do that. I'm like this, I'm like that. I ain't never that, you hear me? You wanna find out about me, come find out. You hear me? I ask, you dig? But, you hear me? Niggas don't be knowing how to figure niggas out. And scary niggas is a nigga that gotta figure a nigga out. I don't give a fuck who you is. I don't give a fuck what you about, where you from, none of that. You hear me? If we got a problem, we got a problem. If we don't, then we don't. Simple as that, you hear me? Yeah, man. That nigga right there. That's one of them niggas, man. If he ain't got his click, he ain't shit. You hear me? I think the nigga did do nothing. I don't know. You hear me? I don't know. But if he ain't, I don't give a fuck. You hear me? You know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know it's real shit. You hear me? Fuck. When you went to that parish, you had to come back. You couldn't live in there, dog. By yourself, you ain't shit. When you with the gang, you all with it. You hear me? I can't respect them type of niggas. You hear me? I'ma always be me. By myself, with help, with no help, I'ma always be me. Standing on my own too, you hear me? And if you real, that's how you supposed to be, you hear me? Only fake niggas can't stand alone, son. Real niggas can always stand on their own too, you hear me? And from Conchetta all the way to when I got released from DeQuincy, man, I was on my own too, you hear me? For real. Hunch, Rayburn, Parish, TDC, Conchetta, fucking when I been HOD, Templeman, the Tent City, New jail, fuck, nigga, look, everywhere I went, son, I always stood on my own too. Juvenile jail, CYC, Revolt, all that shit, I always stood on my own too, son. You hear me? For real. In JP jail, everywhere I went, every jail I done been in, son, I always stood on my own too, son. You'll never hear a story about me getting punked, getting nothing took, nobody fucked me, none of that shit, you hear me? Always stood on my own too, you hear me? 608-425, nigga, you hear me? For real. You get a whole DOC number on this bitch, you hear me? 608-425, nigga, you hear me? For real. I'm out, man.